Hello, welcome to Wednesday's Nots Today with me, Mark Dennison. Here's what's on the show today. And firstly, police have arrested 5 people as they reinvestigate the murder of a Nottingham taxi driver 30 years ago. Estham Ghafoor, known better as Shami, was found in his own cab exactly 3 decades ago last Friday. But now police have made arrests after a public appeal on the anniversary of his death. We'll have the full details of that in just a moment. Plus, we've been to Mansfield to learn more about a multi-million-pound plan to transform a derelict department store building.
The kind of expectations of residents are really strong and they're very impatient for change, aren't we all? And I think this is a really important first step and we really want to hear more from the good people of Mansfield.
Plus, we've been hearing people's views on the future of Nottingham's e-scooters. That's after the council confirmed there's no timeline for their return.
I don't think they should bring them back. Some people are responsible riders, but some people just come down here at really fast speeds.
On nicer days, rather than driving in, I would use them to commute in instead. I think it's a real shame if they don't come back to it.
And later in today's show, we'll be talking with a Nottingham music institution as it celebrates a quarter of a century in the city. This is the Bodega on Pelham Street. It kick-started the careers of countless huge acts, and it turns 25 this week. We'll be joined by someone from the venue later on to look back on some big memories. In sports, we'll be hearing from Mansfield Town manager Nigel Clough after yet another league loss last night.
No, our supporters want to see us play like that as well. I don't think they could believe it as well when the ball goes in. Literally, Christie, no saves at all for 47 minutes, and then one floats over his head.
All of that and plenty more on the way for you. But firstly, as I've just mentioned, 5 people have been arrested after police reopened a 30-year-old investigation into the murder of a Nottingham taxi driver. Estham Ghafoor, known better to his friends and family as Shami, was found dead in his own cab on Lamley Lane exactly 30 years ago last Friday after being shot twice. Nobody has ever been convicted of his murder, and Nottinghamshire Police held a press conference on the anniversary where a public appeal for information was launched alongside his family. Now, the force says 4 men and a woman were arrested this morning as part of a heavy police operation around Sneinton and Bakersfield. Also in the headlines today, officers have made an arrest as part of a separate investigation into an incident in Hucknall. The force says it relates to reports of a man carrying 2 machetes around Nabs Lane last Friday. At around 3:20 in the afternoon, CCTV footage and images circulated online led to an 18-year-old man being arrested in the town. He remains in custody while investigations continue. Let's move on now, and today we've been to Mansfield as the District Council held a new consultation into Mansfield Connect project. This is a new multi-million-pound regeneration plan for the old Beals department store, which has stood empty for several years. The council plans to turn the building into a public sector hub, including its own headquarters. So Jack Sims went down to find out more.
A penny for your thoughts? Well, for residents of Mansfield, their thoughts are going to be worth millions of pounds, all to regenerate part of their town centre. Last year, the authority managed to secure £20 million through the government's Levelling Up Fund. It was a part of a bid to develop the town's high street and bring public services closer to the people. The Mansfield Connect project will see £30 million being used to rejuvenate some of the town's derelict sites, such as the former Beals department store being turned into a public sector hub. Today was the first day of the project's consultation phase, taking place at the Four Seasons Shopping Centre. That was where the public could have their say on Mansfield Connect. Mansfield District Council's Regeneration Manager Jeff George says hearing these views allows the authority to directly address people's opinions.
I think people are quite rightly challenging some bigger issues that the town centre faces. There are some big challenges in Mansfield about vacant properties, there's challenges around the market. The kind of expectations of residents are really strong and they're very impatient for change, aren't we all? And I think this is a really important first step and we really want to hear more from the good people of Mansfield.
And members of the project were eager to engage with the public, with the council's portfolio holder for regeneration, Stuart Richardson, saying that the town's future looks bright.
In the last 12 months, we've had 5.9 million people access the town centre. So that's an increase on the pre-pandemic level. And I feel very optimistic about the future of the town.
And we've asked locals about what they think of the new vision for Mansfield.
Well, something needs to be done. because the town is full of hairdressers, nail bars, gambling places.
There should be more shops, shouldn't there? Why do they keep putting all this development in? Can't they make it bigger market, bigger shops?
Planning permission has already been granted for the major project, which was once given support by former Government Minister Michael Gove. But it's not his opinion being sought out now, because this consultation is running until the end of the year. Then it is hoped the project can take its first steps towards connecting Mansfield in the new year. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Okay, it's time now to meet someone inspiring, and this surgeon has just been given a joint award at Nottingham University Hospital Staff Awards for saving the life of a young Mansfield boy. 4 years ago, Mr. Shailinda Singh, paediatric orthopaedic surgeon at NUH, saved the life of a 7-year-old boy who was just minutes from death following a hernia and perforated bowel. Mr. Singh instinctively prepared all the operational setup in a communal room on the paediatric intensive care unit. This procedure is more common in the US, as normally here the patient is rushed to a dedicated emergency room, but he said the boy wouldn't have survived that journey. He joins us now to tell us all about the event and the award as well. Welcome, good to see you.
Thank you, Mark.
You were just telling me you've carried out this procedure several times before.
Absolutely, because as you know, and I worked in 5 continents or countries. I started my journey in India till the age of 32, and I worked in an institution called PGI Chandigarh, which handles 5 times the emergency of entire UK.
Right.
Because it's a quaternary center.
Okay, right.
Then I worked in Kuwait, Australia, here, and US.
Wow.
So in US, I was in West Virginia for 2.5 years, and that was the only flagship hospital for the entire state. So everything comes there.
Yeah. So in terms of this procedure, is this, and we'll talk about where you did it and the events around that in just a moment, but is this something you came across in the US and India as well?
Yeah, I mean, not exactly the same condition, but the approach. This in trauma is called damage control surgery. If I'm in the war field and somebody is bleeding to death with, let's say, injured spleen, I don't have to source control. You pack the abdomen, control the bleeding, and send them. So you do something. So this is one of those types, we call damage control, where we do a minimum intervention in the little bit, I would say, I won't say suboptimal in the West, but in India, I would be operating in front of a truck light and a stretcher, and they call it, this is the operating light and that's the operating table. So you stabilize the situation, and after 48 hours, then you finish the operation. So in other words, you got a living problem, which I can solve, but I don't go for what we call dead solution.
Right, okay. Well, I was going to ask you how common this kind of approach might be, and if there's something that NUH and other trusts can maybe learn about what you did when you saved this boy's life.
Yeah. The main thing is that when you are dealing with anybody who's got a very low blood pressure, he's on inotropes to maintain their blood pressure, and the cause is some sort of sepsis, whether it's in the tummy or whether it's from ruptured bowel or whether it's appendicitis. The common mistake people do is that rush these children, especially till the age of 18, to the operating room. Now, they are maintaining their blood pressure because of the inotropes, and 2, the children compensate a lot. So as soon as we give a general anesthesia, their blood pressure drops and they can have a cardiac arrest. So basically, you can't even start the operation. So with this approach, what you do is when you see these patients in the intensive care, of course, they are intubated. Of course, we give fentanyl, morphine, painkillers. And when I did this sort of operation, I have the general anesthesia consultant standing there. The entire operating room is there. So it's not that you are in the, Wild East or something, Everything is there, but you do the minimum job to get out. Like in this child, I had to go by my instincts. I couldn't have sent him to CT scanner because I would have lost him. He was too unstable to go. And CT scanner we call a tunnel of death, because if you send unstable people there, you lose them. So I had nothing to go except my instincts and a teamwork, because the person who intubated this child, I won't name because I don't have his permission, he told me that before he tubed the child in Mansfield before transfer, the tummy was like a board. And that is the only time you can assess the tummy, because I can't assess clinically, because once you tube, you give paralyzed aging, the tummy is soft. So that's it.
Yeah. Well, listen, the award is here. People can see it on the, you get a frame certificate and a glass trophy as well. How do you feel about the award?
It's very humbling, especially when Jackson says, because, you know, I have been doing and operating and I have been consultant for the last 30 years in 5 continents. You get a lot of appreciation from your patients, parents, mothers, but for a child like Jackson to give a testimony, that meant a lot. That's what moves me a lot.
I can tell as well. Are you moved by that? Absolutely. And the fact that he's now made a full recovery as well, that's pretty amazing.
He looks smarter than me in his school uniform.
No one looks smarter than you tonight.
I mean it,
No way.
I can show you the picture, honestly, because he just joined the secondary school and mom sent me a picture with a blazer and a striped necktie.
Wow. Good on him. Well, listen, congratulations to you. We're thrilled to hear that Jackson's doing well as well. Thank you for coming in, and thank you for what you do every day as well, and your
colleagues too. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Nottingham TV.
Thank you. We're going to take a short break now. Plenty more to come on the programme. After the break, we will be doing the quarter-final draw for the Notts FA Saturday Senior Cup. Later in the show, celebrating Bodega at 25 rather, and ideas for your entertainment this evening as well. That and more, all on the way. Hello, welcome back to Wednesday's show with me, Mark Dennison. I hope you're doing all right. Here's what's going on in Notts today. And firstly, a Notts Hospital Trust has urged patients to only attend in an emergency. That's after an outbreak of norovirus. Sherwood Forest Hospital Trust says patients should avoid the emergency department at Kings Mill after one of its wards was closed to contain the outbreak. It said there'd been a rise in patients with symptoms of sickness and diarrhoea, and that patients should only arrive in A&E if they've got a serious injury or if they have a life-threatening condition. And staying in Sutton in Ashfield, concerns have been raised about the future of green spaces. That's after plans were put forward for 84 homes. Developer Avant wants to build the properties of Fisher Close in a £23 million project, but a councillor says the junction can't cope with the amount of houses already there and said no green land is safe from new developments. Councillor Helen Ann Smith, the District Council Deputy Leader, has called in the application to be decided by the authority's planning committee at a later date. Right, in just a minute, we'll take a full look at all of your sport this evening. But before that, it's time to take the quarter-final draw of the Notts FA Men's Senior Saturday Cup. 8 teams remain in that draw after a hotly contested round of games. In the second round earlier this month, results included a 6-2 win for Retford United over the Clifton All Whites, a 1-0 win for Nottingham Forest B team, that's over Rainworth Miners Welfare, and a 2-1 win for Hucknall Town over Newark Town. Joining me now to do the draw is Aaron Lodge, who's Assistant Manager of Hucknall Town, alongside Sherwood Colliery Chairman Mike Statton, whose side beat Carlton Town 2-1. Welcome along, gents.
Hi, Mark.
All fired up, ready for the draw?
Yes.
Any nerves? Do you get nervous about doing this kind of thing? Walk in the park, Aaron, isn't it? A walk in the park. Let's just talk about your own teams firstly. Mike, as I mentioned there, your boys beat Carlton Town 2-1. Sounds like a tight game.
Yeah, very, very tight. When you draw Carlton Town out, they're a big club. They're one of the biggest in the area, and it's always tough on paper. But the boys went out and they did a job. And the good thing about Sherwood is Wayne Savage, the manager's built a great team. I mean, he's been with us for 10 years now. And the work ethic is built in the lads. When you go behind, they fight for each other.
Yeah.
So really good.
And they ground it out. Aaron, by contrast, we're talking about 10 years there. You're part of a new management team. I know you had a win at Lincoln United just a few days ago. How are you and your colleagues settling in?
Yeah, it's been a really good start. So obviously me and my the manager Tris have been in now for the past couple of weeks. We had a great result against Lincoln, kind of our first contact with the boys, and to come away with that where we wasn't expected to win was brilliant. Obviously, a little bit of disruption last week with the snow. But we managed to get a friendly game in last night, and we're going to train Thursday and prepare for Saturday to go and win the game.
Okay. We'll talk more in just a minute. Without further ado then, let's do the draw. And we've got 8 teams, as I mentioned, including your own 2. What happens if you draw each other, by the way?
Well,
smiles all round. Smiles in the studio, and then outside it all gets a bit more serious. Right, let's do this. Do you want to kick off? We'll do the home team firstly. Aaron to go first then, and I've got the numbers and who they are here, so I'll try and provide the information. So that's number 2 firstly. This is Eastwood or Baseford, because their game is to be played at a later date. So it's either Eastwood or Baseford first. They're going to be playing.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Nottingham Forest B team, who beat Rainworth Miners Welfare, as I mentioned earlier on, 2-1 at home. Number 4 is next, so let's have a look at number 4. That is Newark and Sherwood United FC, who beat West Bridgeford Colts 3-2 away from home.
Number 7.
Number 7 is Retford United FC. They beat Clifton All Whites 6-2 at home.
Give it the swirl.
Still in there.
Still in it.
Number 6, that is Radford FC, who beat Dunkirk FC 3-2 at home. So Radford are going to be facing...
Number 1.
Number 1, that is Clipston FC, who beat Retford FC 3-0 at home. So this looks like... Oh, I wonder who is.
I wonder who it is. Who's having the home game.
Number 3, that's Hucknall Town FC, who beat Newark Town 2-1 away.
Number 8.
They were going to be playing Sherwood Colliery FC.
Always.
I mean, look, we've had these completely verified and all of that, but, you know, the chances of having the two of you face each other, how do you both feel about that?
Well, look, there's obviously the old previous, before the old management was in, and when I played for Sherwood myself, there was always past and previous really good contested games. I did many years ago, yeah.
Oh, hello.
So yeah, really good contested games as well. So it's 2 really good sides. So yeah, looking forward to it and seeing some old faces as well.
Excellent. How are you feeling about it?
Hucknall, it's a great place to go. I mean, the stadium, the setup's absolutely fantastic. They've got, again, one of the best setups in the area. It's unbelievable. The following's always great. I think you took 100 away, didn't you?
Yeah, really big
to the other
crowd for
game.
the first game, yeah.
So the atmosphere at Hucknall is always fantastic, and but it's a 10-minute drive. It's a local derby, so it's what cup draws are about.
I mean, we mentioned earlier on, Aaron, this is fairly early days for you and your colleagues in post. How do you think already, this is really on the spot question, how do you think you'll set up for a game like this?
Oh, well, we'll do our homework. Look, with the 2 sides being relatively local, we know quite a lot about each other anyway, so we'll get footage of the games, and I'll probably speak to Sab, the manager, and say...
half of them anyway.
I know, I'll speak to Sab, the manager, and say, right, how are you going to set up? But look, we've got a way we want to play, and we will stick to our identity, our identity, sorry. So, yeah, it'll be a good game. Look, they're 2, level above now, so, look, the pressure's on them to go and win the game.
Ooh, all right. And in terms of the importance of the cup, Mike, just tell me about that. What does it mean to be still in there?
For me, it's our biggest chance of silverware this season. Being in step 4 this year, it's been a completely different ball game, especially playing away from home, having to move away from our ground while our ground's been upgraded. Reneth Miners Welfare have been so kind to allow us to use their facilities, and I would say that it's had an impact on the way that we've played. We've missed playing at home. The ground within the last 2 weeks the pitch is now laid, so we've got the FIFA standard pitch. It's a fantastic service. I mean, even I was hitting some top corners when I was training with Sav. So, but I think after Christmas, well, after moving to our new ground.
Time to kick on.
It is. It's time to kick on, and I do think we'll do well.
Thank you for doing the draw. Good luck for your game against each other. The best team win. Thank you. Time now for more sport. We'll start with Mansfield Town after they fell to yet another 1-0 loss in League One last night. The Stags travelled to Wycombe Wanderers and now on a 10-game winning run in all competitions. Lost deep in injury time thanks to a Luke Leahy goal. It's the club's third successive 1-0 defeat. Leaves them in 10th, and after the game, Nigel Clough said it was a tough result to swallow for the Stags.
It's just a fluke. He's crossing it to the far post. We've got men there to deal with it as we have done all game, and it's just floated in the far corner. We lost one at Burton years ago, like similar. And if somebody rips you to pieces and puts it in the top corner, you hold your hands up. But to concede a fluke like that, and then we were pressing 90 minute or so into added time. It was us, we got a corner and everything, and we're trying to win the game. And then we dealt with the long throw. Nothing, absolutely nothing you can do about it. He could have easily had something out of all the games. So we must keep doing what we're good at, and that's including coming to the league leaders tonight, pressing them, taking the game to them as much as we can. We're going to keep doing it, and I know our supporters want to see us play like that as well. I don't think they could believe it as well when the ball goes in. Literally, Christie, no saves at all for 47 minutes, and then one floats over his head.
Next, Nottingham Forest have confirmed a former Labour MP will replace former chairman Tom Cartledge on its board of directors. Tom stepped down as chairman of the board last month to focus on running his family business, but at the time he remained on the board of directors. But now the club say ex-politician Michael Dugar, who was once the chief spokesman for the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, has been a Reds fan for more than 30 years, will replace Mr Cartledge on the board. That ends his involvement with the club. Ice hockey, and new Nottingham Panthers forward Mitch Fossier says he's loving life in the city after capping off his first weekend as a Panther with a goal and 3 assists. The goal contributions came during the side's wins over Belfast and Manchester this past weekend, and after the games the American-born forward says he's enjoying playing with his new teammates.
It's a blast. It was thrown right into it, but it was a lot of fun. Great to play in front of this atmosphere. Such a fun crowd. I had a blast. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I think, anytime you're for me, this was the start of the season, so you're just trying to settle in, try to find your touch a little bit, kind of at the beginning of things. So there was a few plays I'd like back, but obviously, some things worked out. So it was a lot of fun. Got to play with great players, throughout the whole course of the weekend. So it always makes it easier, and, guys let me come right in and made me feel comfortable, so that always helps.
And just a reminder, you can watch both of those games right here on Notts TV this week. Firstly, all the goals from the side's 3-2 win over Belfast. That's showing on the channel tonight at 9, straight after Team Talk. And then we're showing the side's 4-1 win over Manchester Storm. All the action from that one gets going at 7:30 on Friday evening. Weather coming up, but a great shot of the River Trent taken by Mackenda Louise on Instagram as our picture of the day. Weather-wise then, tonight's going to be a chilly one, temperatures down to -1. Tomorrow, a bit more sunshine, highs of 5 and lows of 3. And finally, Friday, some sunny spells in the afternoon, highs of 9 degrees. Another short break, plenty more to come in just a few moments' time after this. Hello, welcome back to Notts Today with me, Mark Dennison. I hope you're doing all right. Here's what's happening in the news today. Firstly, more than 5,000 customers on Nottingham's district heating network, Enviro Energy, face rising bills from next year. The City Council-run company provides power to thousands of homes and more than 100 businesses across Nottingham. It's due to increase its customers' bills from January. It's expected to cause the average customer to pay about £1.14 per week, or £59 a year. That's more in their bills. The cause of this is to combat inflation and global wholesale energy prices. And bollards have been installed near Sherwood Forest to clamp down on fly tipping. Newark and Sherwood District Council, the County Council and Forestry England have worked together to bring boulders and barriers to the forest entrance near Deerdale Lane and Eakring Road. That's between Mansfield and Newark, and it comes after industrial scale fly tipping issues blighted the beauty spot. A public order has also been created aimed at fining offenders for dumping waste in the area. This has been backed by Forestry England as well. Another guest on the show in a moment after we have a look at what's happening across Nottingham this evening. One or two ideas if you fancy getting out. Kicking off over at the Canal House is their comedy night. Sure, it'll be a barrel of laughs midweek for you. That one starts at 7:30 and plenty of tickets still available for that one. Alternatively, if you're not a big comedy fan, how about a bit of music? Rescue Rooms, they have their new Bean Twist event. Tickets are still on sale for £22, starts at 7:30. And finally, last but not least, a little bit more music at the Bodega. That one might be for you. It's their Indie Wednesday night. You can get a ticket on the door. It is their 25th anniversary. Talking more about that later in the show tonight. As I mentioned, time now for our third chat of the show, and we're talking about homelessness, more specifically what councils do when they're finding accommodation for people living on the streets. One step local authorities can make is to move these people out of area, a practice where people are placed in temporary accommodation in another council's area instead. But my next guest is a professor from the University of Nottingham whose research has found these sorts of placements actually pose little advantages for councils, mainly because other authorities are doing, well, exactly the same. Here to explain more is Dr. Steve Ifrati, an assistant professor in social policy at the university. Welcome. Good to see you, Steve.
Good to see you.
Have I got that right? Is that mainly how this practice actually works?
Yeah, I suppose it's certain groups of people, priority households, have a statutory duty to be accommodated. So if you are pregnant, if you have children, young children, if you are escaping domestic abuse, or if you have other physical or mental disabilities, you have a legal right to be accommodated. You go to your local authority, you make an application, they say, we have nowhere to put you, however, they legally have to accommodate you, so they'll put you into temporary accommodation in another local authority area. And this is what we're seeing more and more, possibly around about 40,000 households per year are being placed out of area because of this practice.
And this has presumably been going on for some time. It's nothing particularly new.
It's increasing in numbers. So what we are seeing is that there are fewer and a smaller proportion of affordable and social houses available. So we're seeing a lot more pressure into the rented sector. More people are entering the rented sector. That's starting to put prices up. It's starting to make it much more difficult. And it's therefore making it harder for local authority to accommodate these households. Yet, legally, they have to accommodate them.
Yeah. And as I mentioned in the introduction to you there, Steve, the problem seems to be, as you would kind of imagine it, is that councils are all doing the same thing. So all you're doing is shifting the problem around.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of crisis management here. People are turning up saying they need somewhere to live. They legally have to be accommodated. You haven't got somewhere to put them. You find another area. But of course, that starts to put pressure on housing that other area who are moving them onto somewhere else. So there are net receivers and net places, if you like. There are some local authorities who are receiving a lot more. And Nottingham, for instance, Nottingham City Council is receiving more than it is placing. Nottingham actually places very small numbers of households out of area, but receives around about 250, 255 households per year are put into Nottingham.
Right. Why might that be? Have they just got more capacity then? Is that how it works?
Yeah, there's just more capacity. So some of these are coming from Broxtowe, Gedling, Erewash, but we've also got probably about a dozen, 15, 20 households coming up from London, Milton Keynes, Shropshire, places like that being sent over because they can find accommodation in Nottingham. Of course, the problem is then that starts to put pressure on services in Nottingham. So the vast majority are families with children. So you think 250 households, most of them with children, that's possibly I don't know exactly, maybe 500 more school places per year that are required. Doctors' surgeries, dental registrations, a big thing we're reading about in the news at the moment. If you have problems with mental health or physical health, the chances are you might need to find another doctor to register with. That then creates delays. And we're seeing a lot of people, we've interviewed a lot of households being moved out of area who say that the actual process of being moved out of area very disruptive for their mental health and their well-being, and it's having a detrimental effect on them and their families. And for some people, not always, but for some people that move can be too much to maintain employment as well, so you're possibly losing your job.
Yeah, you can imagine how disruptive that would be. I guess the $64 million question then, Steve, is if not this approach for local authorities, what does work?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem really. I mean, I'm certainly not blaming local authorities for this practice. Many of them would happily accommodate within their areas if they could. They just don't have the choice. We are in the midst of a housing crisis. Even though we are building more houses, the proportion of affordable and social houses is going down. It's not really in the interest of most construction companies to build cheaper houses that people can live in. And so for a lot of local authorities, especially some of the southeast local authorities and some of the rural local authorities with not many properties, the pressure on them is increasing and they are just desperate to find anywhere they can to accommodate these households.
Of course. Huge issue. Appreciate you breaking it down for us. Steve, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's have another look at something from earlier in the programme actually. And today we've been to Mansfield as the District Council there held a consultation into the new Mansfield Connect project. That's a multi-million-pound regeneration plan for the old Beals department store, which has been standing empty for several years. The council plans to turn the building into a public sector hub, including a new headquarters for its own services, as well as a space for the county council and the NHS as well. Jack Sims went along to find out more.
A penny for your thoughts? Well, for residents of Mansfield, their thoughts are going to be worth millions of pounds, all to regenerate part of their town centre. Last year, the authority managed to secure £20 million through the government's Levelling Up Fund. It was a part of a bid to develop the town's high street and bring public services closer to the people. The Mansfield Connect project will see £30 million being used to rejuvenate some of the town's derelict sites, such as the former Beals department store being turned into a public sector hub. Today was the first day of the project's consultation phase, taking place at the Four Seasons Shopping Centre. That was where the public could have their say on Mansfield Connect. Mansfield District Council's Regeneration Manager Jeff George says hearing these views allows the authority to directly address people's opinions.
I think people are quite rightly challenging some bigger issues that the town centre faces. There are some big challenges in Mansfield about vacant properties. There's challenges around the market. The kind of expectations of residents are really strong and they're very impatient for change, aren't we all? And I think this is a really important first step and we really want to hear more from the good people of Mansfield.
And members of the project were eager to engage with the public, with the council's portfolio holder for regeneration, Stuart Richardson, saying that the town's future looks bright.
In the last 12 months, we've had 5.9 million people access the town centre. So that's an increase on the pre-pandemic level. And I feel very optimistic about the future of the town.
And we've asked locals about what they think of the new vision for Mansfield.
Well, something needs to be done because the town is full of hairdressers, nail bars, gambling places.
There should be more shops, shouldn't there? Why do they keep putting all this development in? Can't they make it bigger market, bigger shops?
Planning permission has already been granted for the major project, which was once given support by former Government Minister Michael Gove. But it's not his opinion being sought out now, because this consultation is running until the end of the year. Then it is hoped the project can take its first steps towards connecting Mansfield in the new year. Jack Sims for Notts TV.
Thank you, Jack. Let's now have a look at some more news headlines this evening. Firstly, concerns have been raised about Nottingham City Council's plan to hold a budget consultation over the Christmas period. The Labour-run authority must consult the public about its financial planning before it's able to draw up its finalised budget papers for the next financial year. But in a meeting yesterday, some councillors said the authority may face legal challenges over the plan to hold the survey between December the 17th and January the 13th. They said the consultation should have been held earlier and risks not getting enough responses. Next today, plans to turn an Indian restaurant into a Starbucks drive-through have been approved. The Haveli restaurant on the A52 near Home Pierpont will close in January and move to a delivery and takeaway service from Meadow Lane in Nottingham. There are hopes it could then find a new permanent home. Once that happens, though, the large building will be converted into a Starbucks with a drive-through facility. That's after Rushcliffe Borough Council's planning committee approved plans earlier this month. One final break of the show in just a moment. Maybe go and get yourself a brew, get an extra pair of socks on, it's pretty cold. We'll be getting your thoughts on whether Nottingham should get its e-scooters back. Plus we'll be looking back at the last 25 years of the venue that is the Bodega. A lot of great memories and a top guest to talk about that in just a moment. Welcome back to Wednesday's show with me, Mark Dennison. Hope you're doing all right. Here's what's happening in Notts today. Firstly, 2 park and rides were closed in the city. That's after traveller groups set up camp. Nottingham City Council apologised for the late notice as it closed off both the Queen's Drive and the Colic park and rides. On Wednesday, it followed groups setting up camps on both sites late on Tuesday afternoon. The authority said the Navy 49 bus route was still using Queen's Drive, not using the park and ride itself. It follows the racecourse park and ride closing a fortnight ago because of a traveller encampment. I will stay with travel and buses, and Nottingham City Transport has been named the UK's best bus company for a record-breaking 6th time. The publicly owned bus company was given the award at the UK Bus Awards, having previously also won the prize in 2004, 2012, 2014, 2016 and 2019, all the years there, just in case they come up in the pub quiz. In a statement, the Labour-run group, which runs Nottingham City Transport itself, said the prize shows the benefits of having buses provided for the public's benefit. And in other news, yesterday we briefly mentioned on the show that there's still no timeline for when or even if the yellow e-scooters will return to the streets of Nottingham. The City Council had been piloting the devices until provider Super Pedestrian went bust this time last year. And it's been 12 months since they were last seen on the roads and pavements. In a new statement, the council says it's still trying to find a new provider for the scooters, but can provide details or dates for when they might come back. The length of the time since they were last here in mind, we were asking people on the streets whether they actually want them back at all. Have a look.
I don't think they should bring them back. I mean, some people are responsible riders, but some people just come down here at really fast speeds and they're nearly bumping into people. It's not safe, so I don't think they should bring them back.
I don't know many people that do. As a student myself, it's not like I see my mates from like halls or houses using them. I think Nottingham has enough transport links with the trams, with buses, everything like that. So I personally think they're a bit unnecessary.
You know, we have really good bus services. The young people like them, and I understand that. But no, I don't. And I think you'll find a lot of us elderly people don't.
I feel like they're just fun. I used to go on them with my friends, like after work, it was great. So I feel like it's a bit sad they're not here. I understand some people are a bit reckless with them, but I feel like we shouldn't spoil it for everyone else.
It's a bit of havoc, don't they, with the ageing population as well, so I probably agree with them really, they are a bit of a nuisance.
I used to use them a lot to get from place to place. I reckon if they're being brought back, they need to be done a bit differently, because you'd see them dumped along the streets a lot of the time.
We're a real shame. I think they're really great. I understand they're a bit controversial. Some people don't like them because they'll be left out in the street and stuff. But the reality is they get people out of cars and less congestion on the road, and you know, they are safer than cars as well. So yeah, I used to occasionally use them for commuting into work. I would, particularly on nicer days, rather than driving in, I would use them to commute in instead. I think it's a real shame if they don't come back. Yeah.
OK, now it's an institution in our city, whether it's for a drink or to watch some of the country's future great bands. This week, the Bodega on Pelham Street turns 25, marking a quarter of a century of live music in Nottingham. It's kick-started the careers of artists including the Arctic Monkeys, Florence and the Machine and Mumford and Sons, and a host of events taking place this week to celebrate the iconic venue's birthday. Joining me now to look back over the last 25 years and look ahead to what's coming up this week is Sam Curl, the venue's promotions manager. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having us.
Thanks for making the long journey from Pelham Street to the studio. How's the week going so far?
It's going very well, yeah. It's a very busy week. We've got lots going on, lots of gigs, lots of exciting things happening. It's been very smooth up to now and hopefully it continues this week.
Yeah. You, I'm going to make a big assumption here. You haven't been there for 25 years.
Not quite 25. I've been there for 8, so
right.
about a third of it. Which
Yeah.
Quite a good stint, I'd say.
What's it like as a place to work?
It's really cool. There's something new happening every single day. New people to see, new things going on. It never slows down. It's always exciting. And even in the time I've been there, there's been people play to 220 people upstairs who have gone on to like headline festivals and stadiums. So the rise for these artists can be pretty fast. Sometimes these artists play to 200 people and that's who they'll play for, and that could be someone's favourite band, and that's amazing too. But to have people go from such a small room to arenas in a few years is really cool to see.
Yeah. How does that feel? I mean, because you're looking at it, it's your job, but you're a music fan as well. So I wonder how it feels for you to see someone at the Bodega and the next thing they're on telly or playing Glastonbury or whatever.
It makes you feel quite smug, to be honest. It makes you feel like you got there right at the start. But some gigs, they're just like so special. They're a moment in time which people are there for that one moment. Some of these bands will never play venues like that again. So to be there for that one moment, I think everyone's in it together. Everyone's really excited, and it's like the atmosphere in that place is always amazing.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, is it nice as well?
Absolutely.
Like
everyone's lovely.
A family to work with?
People, once you're in, you're in. Like, you are there for years. I've been there 8 years. I've got no plans to leave, and a lot of people are the same as well. So yeah, it's a real family. Everyone's in it together.
It's a good sign, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
in a non-sinister kind of way.
Yeah.
You can't leave. But that's a really good sign that people don't want to go.
People don't want to leave straight away, and it's just that community. From customers to staff, everyone's in it as one.
Yeah. So we've still got a good few events to talk about, a good few days of the 25th birthday celebrations. Do you want to run down some of, I don't know, maybe not list every single one of them, but some of the highlights?
Yeah, absolutely. So gigs-wise, we've got Liam Gallagher's son, Gene Gallagher, tonight. His new band, Villanelle, are there. They supported Liam Gallagher at the start of the year, so they're with us tonight. On Saturday, we've got an intimate gig from Sleaford Mods, who have headlined the arena before and headline festival, so that's really cool to have them for an intimate gig. We've got DJ sets from people who have been with us since 1999, and including English Teacher, who won the Mercury Prize this year, so it's really cool to have them down as a band. And yeah, there's still lots to come this week.
It's great as well that people, I would imagine, when you reach out to them and say, look, it's our 25th, any chance of doing it? I bet no one said, I mean, feel free to tell us if anyone said no. I have a feeling a lot of people would just say yes straight away.
That was the case, unless anyone was out of the country and couldn't do it or had other plans. But everyone that was available was absolutely up for it. And on Monday we had 25 local artists play one gig, and they played one song each, which could have been a disaster, but it was great. But all of them were like, yeah, absolutely, we'd love to play, and everyone was super up for it, which is great.
Yeah, but I mean, logistically, to have 25 bands. Because I'm a bit of a geek with this, so I quite like watching how all the roadies and all the tech people work. They're like little workarounds, aren't they? So to do that 25 plus times...
It could have been a disaster. We were quite worried about it, and even on the night we were quite stressed. But I think from the gig goers' perspective and the customers, they had no idea that we were all stressed, which is the most important thing. But it was very smooth. All the artists had a great time. It sounded great. So that's all we can hope for.
What about the future for a venue like Bodega? And by the way, aren't we blessed in a city like this that we've got, you know, Bodega, Rock City, the Arena, Theatre Royal Concert Hall. What do you think the future is looking like, and have you turned that corner since COVID?
Yeah, the Bodega's very lucky in that we have lots of events and people come all the time, so we're busy quite a lot. I mean, grassroots venues in the UK aren't in a great position. A lot are closing down around the country. I think people just can't really afford to go out to these gigs. So as long as people keep coming, these venues are going to be in a good position, like the Bodega is. I think in 25 years, I think we'll be stronger than ever. I hope we'll still be putting on as many gigs as we are now. It's looking promising. But we just need people to keep coming and bringing the vibe. We're always welcome to anyone and everyone. So.
Good stuff. Well, listen, appreciate you coming in. Happy 25th to you and all your colleagues. Is Liam going along, by the way, tonight? Do you happen to know?
We'll see. We don't know yet. He might turn up.
You sound like a man in the know. All right. Thank you.
Thank you
Happy
very much.
birthday.
Cheers.
Time now to look at what else is on your telly tonight here on Notts TV. At 8 o'clock, you can watch a brand new episode of Team Talk with Mark Shardlow, Charlie McParland and fans Tim Kochu and Adrian Rawdon. They're discussing recent Forest, Stags and county results, which haven't been too great for any of the sides. Have a look.
Ways you've got to be on it every game. If you slip off, if you're off the pace a little bit, you get punished in this league. Didn't help on Saturday. No Chris Wood, no Gibbs White, no Anderson. You know, three key players.
I think if there's any doubt with a player, he's got a slight injury, I think he should stay at his club.
Yeah.
Right, especially if he's going to England.
It's not we look at anything on paper.
How many are you looking at there?
We don't play on paper, do we?
Forest are capable of beating any of them.
They're capable of beating. I mean, I look at the Ipswich game. Like a lot of Forest fans I spoke to when they went into that Fulham game, were expecting Forest to beat Fulham. Yeah. They ended up losing that day. So you could end up with another bad result against Ipswich. Then probably going to get 4 points in those back-to-back Manchester fixtures. That's the way it goes. And the luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're up there, you have the luck.
Bit of momentum. You need a bit of luck in this game.
Yeah.
Momentum and a wee bit of luck.
So it's now 3 1-0s in a row and a slip down the table after a phenomenal start.
My age, I can remember every cup final, 70s, 80s, the classic Arsenal, Man United, Alan Sunderland winning in the last, boiling hot days. It's always around my birthday, which is brilliant, in May. It's sunny days, and it was a national event. You had the TV coverage, was fantastic. It was an all-day event. 10 o'clock, visiting the players' room, you were helicoptering.
Ronnie Radford.
Yeah. That's Team Talk later on here on Notts TV. Here is your photo of the day. Great shot of the River Trent. Trees and all. Mikenda Louise, thank you. That was sent to us on Instagram. You can do the same on any of those socials. We're even on Blue Sky these days. I know. Weather forecast down to -1 tonight. It's going to be quite chilly. Tomorrow, bit of sunshine around, highs of 5 degrees, lows of 3 tomorrow night. And another dry day forecast on Friday. Temperatures up to 9 degrees, a few sunny spells, particularly in the afternoon. Temperatures down just a few degrees, actually, down to 7 Celsius on Friday night. That is almost the end of the show. Thank you to all of our brilliant guests. They've been great. You have as well for watching. Thank you. Emma Caldwell's here at 5:30 tomorrow to do it all over again with Notts Today. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.